Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Most High gave me a jewel, and I mean it's a big one. And again, my brothers, I want y'all to pray to the Most High when you hear this. Ask Him to send the Holy Spirit for guidance so that you can see through all the stuff and you'll get what I just got. You'll learn what I just learned, which I already knew, but to Most High, He's the truth. And I hope the brothers and sisters that do believe what they believe, they come out of it after they hear this. All right, here we go. All right, this is the Coburn Bible. This is the Book of Britain, which is the land of Britain. Okay, here we go. Here in this holy place, under the direct guidance of God, our Father founded the first church in Britain. Anybody read the Book of Mormon? They tell you that all churches are abominable. But one church was the most, but it says all churches are abominable. Okay, here we go. The guidance of God. Our Father founded the first church in Britain. It is said it was not built by human hands, which is true. And from here shall come that which we will be the salvation of mankind in the years to come. Here was the resting place for the souls of the dead, where they receive their last sustenance before passing through the glass wall. Remember, chew the meat, spit out the bone. From here ran the old road to the place of light, where the bright-winged spirits flew freely, in the place called Dainsart in the old tongue. Chapter 2, Jesus 1, the Book of Britain. This is the true record of events concerning Jesus, son of Joseph and Mary, which we have received by the hands of several who have lived within the circle of his light, and more especially from one who is our earthly father in the faith. He being not the least among the accolades, one who knew Jesus, and a person of no mean estate, both in the distant land from whence he came, and in this more virile land whence he came, and in this more virile land. For Jesus came to fulfill the desires and longings of men expressed in certain holy books. I'm going to read that again. For Jesus came to fulfill the desires and longings of men expressed in certain holy books, but more so in many unlettered hearts. For it is written that such is the nature of things. The tree springing from the yawning of men shall not fail to bear fruit. For the holy books can be likened to an egg containing the embryonic hopes and desires of men. In the sacred books of the Idwin is written, the Son of Man is the shepherd of men, and we know how diligently a shepherd tends his flock. Jesus came not as a shepherd to drive, but as one bearing a guiding lantern to show the way. It is also written, the Son of Man is to deliver is the deliverer of men. And while we know from what we have been from what we have to be delivered, those who lived in his land misunderstand the meaning. Okay. From the book of the Holy Mark, whose wife was one of our own fair race, her father being a Roman way keeper, whose wife was barren, and having this homeborn lady, her mother, as a slave, had by her child, whom he later adopted and raised as a lady of estate. We learn much, but clearer to our understanding is that knowledge concerning Liyad, I guess that's how you say it, imparted to us by our earthly father. Who is the earthly father? Who rules the world? The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. The earthly father. I just want y'all to hear that. All right. Artisalas, I guess that's his name, Artisalas, or something like that, taught that Layad had been one who commanded with the ships of Rome, but was not without ships himself. So it was that when Jesus went down to the western sea of the Jews, now if we were over here, what Jews is he talking about? Because this actually tells you this is in Britain. So think about that. That's something y'all need to think about. If Judah and the other 10 tribes were here, or the other 9 tribes, because Judah made the 10, what Jews are they talking about in Britain? Okay. Which is not the sea of the setting sun. He being one skilled with his hands, worked on them. Jesus was brawny built, and not one to take money without labor. Yeah, y'all about to hear a whole different story of who y'all call the Messiah, Son of God, the only Son of God coming to save y'all. Y'all about to find out something. Here we go, y'all. Yeah, Most High bringing it out. Jesus, our Master, light of our life, was hung on the shameful cross. They just told you something right there. Shameful. What the Most High said. What did he say? A curse of the Most High is hung on a tree. A tree is a cross is a wood. And he was hung. Just listen. Hung on a shameful cross. And he's supposed to die his 39th year. Listen to this. I'm going to start off from the beginning. Jesus, our Master, light of our life, was hung on the shameful cross in his 27th year. Contradictions. This being the 1099 year of Britain in the reign of Tiberius, the ruler of the Roman lands to the east, right there. So they're on the other side of the earth where Columbus is, and Judah was not over there. Okay, let's keep it moving, y'all. Within a year, Layud and others departed from their homeland, shore by ships, and though this was Damasted in a heavy storm. It made safe haven in Sankel. There he and his son were joined by several other holy persons. They tarried a while before crossing to Laidlow, from whence they took a ship to Tarsus. This is literally telling you where they're at. Okay. In the year of Britain, 1112, our Father came from Rome. In fact, I'm going to write that number down. Sorry about that. Was that the year? On the fisherman. Oh, God, I just lost where I was at. Oh, so this is Britain, the year of Britain. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to try to find out what timeline this was. So this is 1112. Okay. The 1112th year. In 12, our Father came from Rome with others because of the decrees of Claudius, ruler of all the Romans, to the east, seeking refuge beyond the oppression of Roman might, where the true light could burn undisturbed. I'm sorry. But the circle of Roman might spread ever wider, like a thorn fisherman's net. Did I just say thorn, y'all? I'm sorry, it's late. I'm a little tired, but I'm getting this out. I'm going to just take my time. I'm sorry. Like a thrown fisherman's net. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. What was that? Like a thrown fisherman's net. 13 years after 13 years after our master was hung on the cross, the Romans came to the fair land of Britain. 13 years. Okay. And the might of their legions prevailed over the brave Caradu, great battle king of all the Britons. He was the leader of fighting men, such will not be seen again. He was carried off, betrayed by an irrational woman. I know that's right. An honorable peace offering to appease the argument of might, together with the British font of knowledge and wisdom. With him went the all-wise Fran, being held in honorable captivity until return to the land of light at the intercession of our Father. For those whom he befriended had not forgotten him. For Laud taught that the greatest wrong men can commit against man's is betrayal of a friend. Now the daughter of Caradu was Gladys. Wow. Red-haired, blue-eyed, and slim. Hello. Let's say that again. Now the daughter of Caradu was Gladys, red-haired, blue-eyed, and slim, who married Pudens, commander of the legions, beloved of Paul, the martyred in God, who died in the 1130 year of Britain, Leon's son, and Caradu, brother of Gladys, being the first Christian in Rome. Just want y'all to see what's going on. In the year of Britain, 1127, there was a great outbreak of fighting, and many men sought refuge within the enclose of Laud. For the free Britons had risen, having been given an assurance of victory by no less than the battle goddess herself, calling on Aramoth and Camalus. The Britons followed their battle queen, whose heart was afire because of the rape of her daughters. She stood tall in stature and was serene of face, speaking deep but modestly. She knew the mastery of letters and spoke three tongues. She had fair hair hanging to her hips. When not battle girded, her head was circled by a golden war coronet, and her tunic was of green and brown, interwoven in the manner of men. Hold on, let me get something to drink, y'all. I'm thirsty. In the manner of men. Mouth is getting dry. All right. Okay, in the manner of men. Okay. She wore a short cloak of purple. Thus she spoke before the battle. I speak to you as a woman whose house has been violated and her daughters dishonored. We have been dealt with unjustly, and I appeal to you not only as a queen, but more so as a woman. Britons who honor their womenfolk cannot regard this lightly. Unlike the squirming Roman Nereids, I do not rule over servile and docile, unmanly men who are less than men, nor like he who rules over peddlers and hucksters. Nor am I like the cowardly man woman Nero. Dang, she called him a man woman. Who surrounds himself with perverts and half men and slaves, who satisfy obscene desires. Such is the nature of the vile culture these foreigners have introduced to our fair land. Mm. I am not such as these whose minds are fevered with an evil ferment. I rule over true men, little schooled in craftiness and deceit, real men born to fight and withstand adversity. The code they live by is that of manliness. True men indeed, who in the case of freedom willingly heed the call to arms and stake their lives on the outcome. They willingly offer themselves as a sacrifice for the future of their womenfolk and children and their lands and property. As the leader of this brave breed of men, I fervently plead for the assistance of your strong right arms. Let us not shriek the task or shun the opportunity to strike a blow for freedom. I pray to the gods of war, the overseers of battle, for victory. We have the duty to stamp out these infections on our land, these ruthless enemies whose reputations is infamous. They are perverters of justice, promoters of depravity, and servants of greed. So I guarantee you, this was of our people that was over there that got took by um what was his name? Oh God, King the Babylonians. I forgot his name though, but he took the two tribes, and I think I'm thinking, because at one point, remember, all of um all of Russia, Germany, and every place was, you know, colored. And if you look at the catacombs, there were paintings, and they did, they tried to keep the same. They tried to keep the laws, but if you hear what I just read, she just said she prayed to the gods. So they tell you right there that they were in idolatry too. hmm They are a race of enjoys unmanly pleasures and delights in the affliction of pain on the helpless, but cringes like a dog at the prospect of its own suffering, whose appropriation is more to be feared, and its friendship more to be shunned than its enmity. Never will I surrender to people whose ways I abhor, nor will I ever desire to live to see my countrymen treated as servile serfs. May the great godly powers be with us now in the great testing time, as we gird ourselves to face the issue. Those brave, inspiring words were of no avail, and Britain was lost, but the spirit could not be quenched, and manlessness was maintained. It is not in victory that the race finds greatness, but in defeat. The knowledge of Christ came not through peace and prosperity, but through persecution. That which is written is not a tale of victory, but of glory that resides in defeat. All right, we're about to get into it now. The books which are the recipe for victory are written by defeated men. Elft, that's his name, Elft, write these things, but are not from my own heart, but come from the hand of others. This is that Elft who married Marcella, maid of Iltit. I think that's Iltit, after the death of her husband, who tripped over a stone and fell on a spike and died, bent like a bow. Died. That wasn't a nice way. All right, Jesus chapter 2. Okay, here we go. Jesus was the son of Miriam, called Mary, by Joseph. His brothers were Jacob, Joseph, Simon, and James. He was born at Bethlehem in the days of his youth. The land ranged with the exploits of Judas the Galilean. All right, so Judas, it says the land the land ranged with, I'm sorry, y'all, with the exploits of Judas the Galilean. So this is saying Judas was somebody else. Okay, so Judas the Galilean, who preached that there was no ruler but God. He was called the teacher of righteousness in his day. You see this? This is not saying what that Judas was. They done switched up a lot of stuff, y'all. Here we go. Let's keep it moving. Joseph, Jesus' father, died when Jesus was 16. Y'all didn't know about that, because I sure didn't. Mary, his mother, did not like his inwardness. So his wife was a problem, let's say. His long silence and his solitary habits, she rebuked him for being a tardy breadwinner. But this was unjust, for he excelled in his craft. So they said this woman was holy and all this, but if you just heard what I just read, it says she rebuked him, meaning that she jumped on him for being a tardy. That means being a slow breadwinner. So she had a problem because he wasn't making money fast enough for her. That's what that was. And it says, but this was unjust. That means she was not right doing this. For he excelled in his craft, meaning that he was good in his craft, but she didn't have patience. So where in the world is she some holy woman? Come on, man. Let's keep it moving. Come on. Okay. She could not understand her strange son, who was unlike the others, and she wanted a practical man, not a dreamer and preacher. You hear that? But she was holy. Okay, come on. Let's go. Boo. Jesus had spells of rapture. Jesus had spells of rapture, and his male kinsfolk declared he was out of his mind. So they sought to have him put under restraint. But the woman folk said he was harmless, and in cases such as this, their words colored the law of the land. Jesus loved his Father, who had taught him his trade. He consoled himself with the scriptures, which said, I will become his father. It says, I will become his father, and he shall become my son. So it says he consoled himself with this scripture. With this scripture, I will become his father, and he shall be my son. And they already said he was a little, they thought he was a little crazy. So come on, let's just keep it moving. All right. Jesus early became a wandering carpenter and then joined the Nazarenes. There was excitement in the land because it was said that the prophecy of Daniel was to be fulfilled in these times. The conditions of the times fulfilled the predictions. Okay, see that? We got a prophecy going on the other side of the earth again. In those times, that's supposed to happen. Okay, here we go. Then Jesus went into the wilderness beside the Jordan. He joined the society of saints, which was beside the sea of heavy salt. Okay, it didn't give you a time frame of how long he was in the wilderness, but it said he did go into the wilderness. Okay, and it didn't say nothing about him being tempted by nobody either. When he came back to the Jordan, he no longer retired within himself, but was a man of direct and forceful speech. He was decisive and commanding. The people called him the Galilean because he was raised in Galilee, and they sought to name him the man of messianic hope and the suffering just one. When Judas the Galilean was dead, some thought he was the warrior Messiah. That would be David. But he rebuked them, saying, I am he of whom it is written, he shall judge the poor rightly and reprove those who oppress them. He shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth and slay the wicked with the words that issue from his mouth. He wrought cures. Let me charge it. Hold on, y'all. The stupid phone ain't charging. Hold on.